This is Z, and today I have a very special guest with me, very good friend of mine, Chris Herin from the band Tiles. And here's my interview with him. He's talking about his upcoming solo album. Chris, how are you doing?
Great. How are you, Z?
Good, good to see you. And finally, I'm hearing some press releases that your solo album is done and it's coming out very soon. So it's a great news.
It is. Thank you. For a minute there, I was thinking that the Boston albums were coming out comparatively quick compared to mine.
And I know, like, since we played a couple of shows together with my band and your band, Tiles, I think it's almost about 8 years. I'm hearing that you've been working on this album. So can you go over like what's the album name?
It's called Hiding in Plain Sight.
Hiding in Plain Sight. And
Mhm.
can you share some like story about it? Like, is it a concept record or like anything connected there?
Sure, sure. Well, lyrically, it has a theme, and it stems from uh, the years when me and my family were dealing with my dad's Alzheimer's. So it goes, some of the lyrics deal with what it was like on the road to discovery to figure out really what was making him behave so differently.
Mm-hmm.
And then some touch points along the way uh, as the disease progressed, and different experiences that I had throughout that 10 years that he suffered from that disease. So it didn't start out really being a concept or an album with a theme to it, but it just started happening that I kept writing about a lot of the same topics. Of course, not the same thing over and over again, but they
Mm-hmm.
were all related. And as it relates to the music, these were I didn't set out to do a solo album necessarily. These were songs that I had demoed with Terry Brown, um, the producer,
Mm-hmm.
around the time that we were still in the middle of working on Pretending to Run,
Mm-hmm.
the Tiles album that came out in 2016. So this was probably 2012, 2013. And I just had a sudden burst of creativity, I guess. And I told Terry, I said, well, can we just demo these? You can put down a placeholder for the rhythm track, and I'll just record the guitar parts,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll sketch these songs out just to have them. And when we decided, well, we got kind of stuck in a corner when it came to Pretending to Run. It was too long for a single CD and not long enough for a double CD. So we
Good problem to have for progressive musicians. Good
right.
problem to have, you know.
So we wrestled with what to do, and I always have a hard time leaving stuff off albums because I think, well, we're working on these songs because we think they're pretty good, so um, we'd like to get them released. So we decided, well, it probably was commercially not viable in a lot of ways to do a double album,
Mm-hmm.
but conceptually and artistically, it was the right thing to do. So as we jammed on some stuff, and then as I was looking through this backlog of songs, we started pulling some stuff from there, and from the same batch that made it onto the Pretending to Run album was Stonewall, the
Mm-hmm.
song that Mike Portnoy played on. And then the other song that Mike's son played on, Max, was Fait Accompli. And then the third song that we poached from my songwriting collection was Weightless.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I go back into the weeds a little bit on this because, one, I didn't set out to do a solo album. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that really these songs have not been worked on for 8 or 10 years. It's been, of course, little pockets of activity here and there, and it's just kind of the truth of the story, that these songs were written a while ago, which everybody can assume if they hear you've been working on an album for a while, then of course the songs were written uh,
Yeah, so I
a
just
while
want to
ago.
touch base with your relationship with Terry Brown. You have been working with him for quite some time on different records. So how this usually works out? I think he's based in Canada, if I'm not mistaken, or
Hmm.
and you are in Michigan area or
Yep, the Detroit area.
Detroit. So I think it's a pretty close border, but still, like how you manage to communicate with him. Like you send demos to on emails, or maybe you travel back and forth with in Canada, or like what's the typical high level process it working with Terry?
It mostly involved traveling. I've never been very adventurous nor technically minded, so I don't have a recording set up at my house. Um, so whenever I would record my parts, whether it was over the years with Tiles, or when Tiles would record as a band, either Terry would come to the Detroit area where we um, had a studio we were working at, or we would go to his place in Toronto to record.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the same way for this solo album. All of my parts were pretty much done with Terry in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, once we start talking about the special guests,
Mm-hmm.
obviously the special guests recorded their parts and then sent them to
Yeah,
Terry.
to Terry. Yeah.
But
So lyrically, like you wrote all the lyrics, or you have any support or help with somebody else
no,
contributing to it?
it's all me, for better or worse.
Yeah, writing lyrics for me personally, it's the most difficult part when I'm working on my own music. I can come up with musical ideas pretty quickly, but since English is not my first language, it's very hard for me to think and convert and then, come up with good words and which is grammatically make sense also. So that's always challenging part. That's why sometimes, I release music very late. you know, it required some time to work out. But once you are, I think, in a flow, like you said, you were in a frame of mind when you come up with one idea and then it's words pouring out automatically. You are starting to work on it. So you have a one single out which is sounds really good. I mean, it's forgot the name right now, top of my head. What it is called?
The
Uh,
Darkest Hour.
Darkest Hour. Yes,
Mhm.
beautiful melody, beautiful bass line, and very progressive in a sense. There are like some world instruments feeling there as well. Really. So you have, I think I read your post that you are releasing another single. So what's the plan? When this album is coming out?
The album comes out November 1st, and between now and then, every couple of weeks, the label's publicists will make arrangements, hopefully for um, a publication or online publication
Mm-hmm.
to host a video, and they're looking at that right now for the second single, which is called Warning Signs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess a little word of warning to progressive rock fans, or even fans of Tiles. They might be wondering, well, does this sound like a Tiles album? And yes, a little bit here and there, but it's a little bit more straightforward. So there's some songs that you would say are just kind of hard rock songs, or maybe even a little more on the arty side, art rock, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe even melodic. Did I already say melodic? A little on the pop side. So it's quite a variety.
Yeah, that was about. I was about to ask this question, like what type of style you are going for this on this solo record, since you are very progressive with tiles and you released a double album, which is like a big undertaking, uh, and that record was awesome. You had special guests like Mike Portnoy and his son also Max on that
Mhm.
record as well. And this solo album, I mean, you have like, I think maybe 30 guest appearance on this. Can you go over like who are the main guests on this record?
Yes, yeah, you're right. It's I think I put nearly 30 because it was like 28 or 29. And that's just a sign of being old and lazy, I guess. Um, but I don't. So yeah, I'll pick up back where the warning signs will be the second release, and that features Michael Sadler of Saga on
Okay.
lead vocals, and then it features Jeff Coleman.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guitarist in a lot of. He does a lot of different things. He plays in Alan Parsons' band.
Mm-hmm.
He plays in Lou Graham's band. He's in Cosmo Squad, which is an excellent fusion three-piece band. He plays with Chad Smith of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Anyway, he's a we've known him for a long time uh, since we play shows with his band Edwin Dare in Toledo.
Mm-hmm.
He does a lot of great guitar work, and Shane Gallus, the Cosmo Squad drummer, he's
Yeah.
on tour with. He does a lot of stuff in with Japanese bands, touring bands.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Chown, of course, who I've worked with since the very first Tiles album way back in '94. He
Mm-hmm.
plays almost all the bass on the album, so he's on the warning. He's on Warning Signs.
Warning signs. Okay.
And the guests for the first single we released, "The Darkest Hour," that features Martin Barre and Don Perry from Jethro Tull.
Yeah.
That's why you hear flute. Martin is still he's still a great flute player. Um,
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
so he played flute. He does the lead guitar work and some acoustic guitars and mandolin. Again, and that's Mark Michael, a friend of mine from Toledo, on the vocals. But
Yeah, yeah, I think he did a great job. I think we played a show together in Toledo.
oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and I met him as well. I think he was playing with some other band when we played a show. So, I mean, great voice, and he did a great job. I mean, it's like did a justice to the music. What you are coming up with, and the song sounds really good. I mean, I'll definitely recommend everybody to check out. So, um, I think you have Matthew Parmenter as well on this record from Discipline.
yep,
So, are you still actively involved with Discipline and
yep.
you're working together or playing shows and stuff?
Well, we're not playing shows right now. Paul, the drummer, a couple years ago took a job with Court TV, so he's kind of like their head cameraman.
Mm-hmm.
So there hasn't really been an opportunity to do shows. Hopefully that
Mm-hmm.
changes in the near future. Um, but Matthew's busy with a little side project, the Kate High Note Trio, where he plays violin, so he's enjoying that.
Mm-hmm.
But so Discipline is fully active. Um, I can't tell you for sure what's going on because Matthew keeps things under wraps, kind of. Um,
So, how about Tiles? Like any activity going on with Tiles, or it's like on hiatus right now, or like?
yeah, no activities. When Paul retired, Paul Rarick, the vocalist, retired back in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's we're all still great friends, and I certainly don't rule out the fact that we'll find somebody to fill his shoes and then carry on somehow. Um, Especially in this day and age when there's really not a lot of opportunity, I don't think, for bands to stay as busy locally as they once
Yeah.
were. So it's almost like, especially now that we've been around for so long and we know a lot of people, And there are so many great young musicians and bands. It's just incredible. My wife asked me if I own stock in Inside Out. They put out so much great stuff. There's so much great music. The point being, maybe we just find somebody to guest as a lead vocalist on a project. And if for some reason there's a little tour or shows that we can collect, then we just have that person hop in for a while and do some shows too to support the album. But so Tiles is not dead in the water. We're just not, as you say, we're on hiatus.
And any plans for this record? Are you planning some supporting tour for this with your solo record, or it's just coming out as a basic release?
Well, there's no plans. I think if opportunities arose, I would certainly see if they were feasible and put something together.
Mm-hmm.
Might even just grab Jeff and Mark from Tiles and a couple other guys to fill out the instrumentation if that were to happen. But there's really, like I said, for the amount of work that it takes to keep a band rehearsed and in good shape, performance-wise, there's just not enough happening locally to spend that kind of effort. But obviously you get good musicians together and you don't need a lot of time to work things up and get prepared. So I certainly am not opposed to doing some shows if some festivals or,
something comes up. So tell about your work with Alex Lifeson. I think he's one of the biggest guests on the record. And how was your experience working with him? How many songs he has contributed? Can you go over details about?
Yep. He's on one song, and he and Terry get together and work on it. They don't allow me to participate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just joking. But and Alex, he guested years and years ago on our album Flypaper.
Mm-hmm.
And we, of course, have asked him in between. He said, well, I just did a guest spot with them. We'll wait till their next album. So anyway, he finally circled back, and there was a couple songs that Terry presented to him. And he picked up on one of the more proggy, moody art rock type tunes. And, he's kind of big in his soundscapes and texturing and stuff. I don't know that you would really know it was Alex Lifeson if somebody played 4 songs
mm-hmm.
and said, pick which one Alex Lifeson is playing on.
Mm-hmm.
Because, he's a little bit more identifiable when it comes to lead playing and things. But
yeah, he has, of course, he has own style and all, but I think recently he's been involved with some other projects as well. Forgot the name of the band he collaborated with a female vocalist.
Envy of None.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think his work was mostly texture and soundscape type stuff there, which is.
But it's
awesome.
it's really good stuff. I I'm surprised. So the point being is that when I listen to his tracks all alone, as Terry's working on blending them into the mix, it's such a shame that so much, like a lot, as you know, as a recording artist, a lot of stuff just doesn't make it out of the mix very prominently. And there's just some really great nuances and things that Alex is able to do with the textures and soundscapes that I wish, I actually asked Terry this, and I don't remember if he answered me or not. I said, well, why don't we do an alternate mix? The song is called Second Ending.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we do a alternate mix of Second Ending and make it, without the drums, and we'll make it more of a atmospheric type piece, and then have Alex's Alex's parts front and center. I mean, not just all Alex, but
Yeah. I was about to say that would be a really good idea for, you know,
right.
to really, showcase that. But yeah, I don't know what are you planning to release that mix or not?
I am not. Well, I'll see if Terry will do it first, but I mean, certainly we could. There's no restriction. Terry's big point, because we talked about alternate mixes, and we've actually got, because Matthew Parmenter from Discipline, he did vocal demos for me on about 5 or 6 of the songs,
Mm-hmm.
and he was never earmarked to sing those songs, but he did demos so that I could turn them over to Michael Sadler, or Randy McStein
Mm-hmm.
sings 3 of the tunes. And Matthew sounded really good. I could have just, if I hadn't already made requests of these people to sing, I could have just used Matthew's vocals, because he's great vocalist. So I asked Terry. I said, well, maybe we can do some alternate mixes or alternate versions,
Mm-hmm.
with Matthew singing, because I said this sounds really good, and it's a lot different than what you'll hear on the album, because that's always Terry's thing. Well, why bother doing it if it's it's like the guitar is just a little bit louder or a little bit different. There's no point. But now that Alan Parsons and his box sets have kind of paved the way, they call them songwriting demos. I thought, well, geez, that's a nice, you just put them on the website or put them on Bandcamp for 25 cents or what. It's not meant to soak more money out of people, but I think they offer. I mean, if you're a Matthew Parmenter fan, certainly you'll enjoy hearing.
Yeah, maybe after a 10th anniversary edition or something, you will release a special edition with that. So tell me about your own guitar playing, like how you approach your guitar on this record compared to work with tiles, or it's like pretty much same, but how much like any different technique or something you brought in this, like your approach to recording or writing guitar parts?
I think from the songwriting standpoint, it's pretty similar to what had materialized out of the Pretending to Run writing and recording sessions. I had started using lots of different alternate tunings. I mean, maybe not very fancy, open G and open C. And then, you take those open tunings and you maybe drop 1 or 2 strings up or down a step or half step a little differently. And it was just surprising how it opened up a lot of new opportunities and chords, actually. Like, you just mash your hands down in the same old places and it comes out as a different chord. So I definitely continued to experiment with open tunings,
open tunings and stuff. Yeah,
and then I continued to write on my little Tacoma Papoose travel guitar. I mean, I take it everywhere. It's been the main songwriting tool since for the last 25, 30 years. And then I would always do the open tunings there, because it's like having a guitar capoed on the 5th fret.
Yeah. So how about like your vocal melodies? Like for example, you have a basic song structure ready. Do you like and Matthew did all the demo vocals. So what was your process like when working with Matthew? Like, do you have certain lyrics done before, or you send music ideas to him? And tell him like what would be the vocal melody, like how you compose that part?
Yeah, most of the time I had written the melody and done a really, I don't want to say poor, but just kind of a scratch track from some guy that doesn't sing, and so he would develop it from there. One of the tunes, I had the lyrics and I asked him to write the vocal melodies. And then another tune, I had the vocal melody and asked him to write the lyrics. So
Hmm.
we mixed and matched a few different approaches. But if the song says I wrote the music and lyrics, then I would have a demos of myself. It's very unnerving to send off demos
Yeah, that's
to
one
people
of.
who to people who aren't you're just acquaintances, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm laying bare my lack of ability here. But they're all very understanding and stuff. So, but
Yeah.
I always give whoever the same thing with Paul in Tiles. You give the lead vocalist latitude to
Hmm.
take something somewhere else or expand upon what's
Hmm.
written.
So tell me about working with Hugh Symes. He did the artwork uh, of the album, and I think he designed all the booklet inside with. Uh, so you've been like working with Hugh Symes for quite some time. What's the process of every art direction? Are you involved in sending him ideas or like feeding him something, or he come up with some on his own, like you send him lyrics or just song titles? What was the process there?
Well, needless to say, working with Hugh is it's a pretty fun and remarkable experience. He's so creative, and it just over the years it's been great to see how he kind of approaches things. I thought we deserved a Grammy for the booklet to Pretending to Run.
Yeah, that's a
Uh,
very
uh,
awesome booklet. I think it may be 24 plus page, I believe it was. Huge
yeah,
booklet.
it's a 28 page, I think.
Yeah, I
And he's very generous with his time with us kind of smaller independent bands because obviously he gets paid fully for his efforts when he's doing Rush and Dream Theater and other bands. So fortunately for me, we've gotten to be pretty good buds over the years, and he takes into account our financial stature. But for this project, he was finally getting pretty frustrated with me because I could not think of a title for the album. And the title I had, Terry didn't like it. And then because Terry's been involved in very significantly in all aspects of the project. It's like
hmm
he's mostly responsible for seeing it to the finish line, thankfully,
hmm
pushing me along and everything. But so, yeah, the title I had for it, nobody liked except me. And then we came up with a couple other ones. We looked at some song titles and we thought, well, maybe these make interesting album title. So Hugh had done like 7 or 8 covers,
hmm
and he said, "Look, you have got to settle on something." So somewhere along the line, Hiding in Plain Sight cropped up, and it really clicked because it's representative of dementia and Alzheimer's, the
hmm
disease, where especially in the early stages, where the person is exhibiting unusual behaviors and stuff, and you don't really know what's going on.
hmm
Maybe they're depressed, maybe they're burnt out, maybe they're stressed or something. So I kind of equated, like most diseases, I guess, before you know you have them, they're hiding in plain sight. So we finally settled on that. Everybody liked it, including Ken at Laser's Edge. So people in kind of the
hmm
production area of the project. Um, I mean, I suppose I could have said, well, it's my album. I don't care what you guys think, but
Yeah, so the current album cover looks really awesome. It's like it has like deep meaning to it in a sense. It's very colorful as well. A lot of and it's simple. I mean, that's the beauty of
yeah,
the progressive art cover, It's like it should be simple, but it can, if you want to get into it and try to understand it, you can have your own meaning comes out of it. So that's one of the things from this cover. So I'm looking forward for your booklet and what he designed, everything. So we are running out of time, but in the
Mhm.
end, you wanna say what fans should expect from this record, and like how would you know conclude this interview with?
Well, first of all, thanks a lot for taking the time to put me on your schedule and chatting like this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean
And
we can talk for hours, but I don't think
right,
people
right,
will watch like 1 hour interview anywhere. But but
right, right.
it's been great talking to you, and thanks for your time and supporting my channel as well. And you know, but yeah, how you know what fans should expect from this record?
Um, well, if you're a Tiles fan, you won't be disappointed. It's like I said, I don't want to misrepresent something. It's got progressive elements. It's got some art rock aspects to it, but it's got some more straight ahead melodic things. It's There's some moodier songs. It's a great collection of vocalists. We've already mentioned Matthew Parmenter from Discipline, Randy McStein, who's going back out on tour with Steven Wilson, and we all know Randy from his all the fingers he's got in his
Different
projects.
bands, yeah.
Yep, great musician. And some of the other marquee value special guests I haven't mentioned is Peter Frampton,
Yeah.
guests on a song. We mentioned Martin and Doane. Lots of great musicians, even if they haven't been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward for this record again. Chris Heron's Hiding in Plain Sight is coming out in November, and it will be available on CD, not on vinyl right now, right?
Well, we're might have some interest in vinyl. The label didn't want to do it at first. They thought the lead time was prohibitive, but in the end, I made took me so long that the lead time wouldn't have been a problem. But there is some activity that Ken may license the album for a vinyl release,
Yeah,
so that's good. But right now, it's just CD and digital.
yeah. So this record will be out. What date it is?
November 1st.
November 1st. So Hiding in Plain Sight is coming out November 1st from Chris Herin from the well-known progressive rock band Tiles. I would highly recommend with really great musicians, guest on this record, and I'm really looking forward again. Thanks, Chris, for your time, and I really appreciate your support and really excited about your new record.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it.
Thank you.